Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a TV review. We'll be having a look at episode 3 of the new season of Being Human, the UK version. So before we get into the review, this will have some spoilers in it, so if you haven't seen the episode just yet, make sure you go and check it out first before watching this video. So let's get started. This episode is really a standalone episode and doesn't really enhance the overall plot arc of the series thus far at all, to be quite honest with you. And as most episodes, it seems to have really two concurrent storylines going on at the same time. So this time you've got another werewolf being introduced, who was an ex-weatherman who was bitten, I think it's 8 years previous to this episode, and he's never met another werewolf before and has kind of just been a bit of a failure since he's been turned. And he ends up staying in the hotel that Tom and Hal work in, and you know, they sort of recognise him from being a werewolf, and eventually Tom sort of, you know, hopes that he can kind of learn something from him, because he's sort of used him as a bit of a celebrity and a bit of a success, even though he actually isn't, and he's more of a sort of a fraudster, if anything. He invites him back to the sort of the Honolulu Heights, the bed and breakfast that they're staying in. At the same time, we're introduced to another ghost character, and she is a 250-year-old sort of lady ghost, and she's one of Hal's victims that he sort of regularly visits. And the theme here is that they are both kind of putting on an act with each other. She's acting very much like a lady and kind of polite and courteous and everything, whilst he's sort of pretending that she was actually the last victim that he killed. Now Alex tags along because, you know, she wants to basically hang out with other ghosts, and actually finds out this new female ghost is really has modernised herself and is very much sort of interested in today's modern culture, and is quite the ladette compared to the actual, you know, the image that she's giving to Hal. And they sort of go out clubbing. There's quite a funny scene where they're she's sort of getting some kind of like sexual kick from sort of reading people's minds when they're having sex in the toilets in a nightclub, things like that. That was quite a funny scene. Now I have to say, wasn't a huge fan of this episode, if I'm quite honest. I didn't really think it sort of stood up to the sort of like last week's episode, certainly. And we're such a short season, I was kind of a bit disappointed that it really sort of didn't have anything to do with the sort of the ongoing plot, and kind of, I thought, well, you know, they're going to have to wrap it up fairly quickly. Anyway, so ultimately the werewolf, I think his name's Larry, basically is kind of teaching Tom ultimately to be a bit of an arsehole, and kind of trying to rip him off by sort of like getting him to lend him money and sort of smash his ex-wife's cars, sort of car windows and things like that. Hal and Alex are kind of recognising that sort of Tom is becoming a bit like this. Now I have to say that Tom is obviously not the sort of sharpest tool in the box, and in fact they actually use that analogy in the episode. But even for him, I think he seemed more dumb this episode than we've seen him before, to be quite honest with you. So I didn't really like that. He just seemed massively susceptible and incredibly stupid to me. So I wasn't so keen on that. I thought he's probably grown more as a character over the last 2 seasons or so, and in my opinion it was a step back. I mean, obviously in this episode he's going through an arc, and at the end of it he's going to come out a better man or what have you, and he feels like that he's sort of not a success and is basically doomed because he's a werewolf to live a crappy life. And this is what this Larry he's actually teaching him. And so I didn't really like that, to be quite honest with you. I didn't really like the whole Larry the subplot, if I'm completely honest. The actor did a good job of coming across like a sort of slimy, almost like a salesman type, but I thought this could have done with maybe it could have been a B plot, but I would have liked to have actually seen the actual story being sort of brought forward with the devil and everything that's been happening in the last 2 episodes. I mean, I'm not against having a standalone episodes, but in a series like Being Human in the UK, where it is such a short season, and especially the final season, I think they should have concentrated more on an overall arc. And with the other ghost plot, basically, essentially Alex, and I suppose in a fairly funny exchange, Hal says that within 5 minutes of Alex getting involved, he's basically kind of ruined the sort of relation. She's ruined the relationship between this other female ghost and Hal. And it's basically Alex thinks they kind of both need to be honest with each other. And there's a scene where, you know, she comes across, you know, she opens up and sort of tells him what she's actually really interested in. She's into like John Woo films and all that sort of thing, which is quite funny. And then Hal basically tells her that, you know, she's not been the last victim. But again, I didn't really like that. I didn't think he maybe got across the point that, you know, if she has helped him, I didn't think he argued his case particularly well. And she kind of went off deep end and trying to kill him. I didn't really like that scene. I thought that was fairly clumsily put together. There's a CGI sort of stake that they're trying to, you know, this guy's kind of like magicking to sort of try and stab him with. And I don't know why Hal just didn't run away, to be quite honest. But I don't know. I think this was quite a weak episode, and I'm disappointed. I really wanted to like this season. I mean, it's you know, I guess we can all have the odd misstep. I wasn't a huge fan of this one, though, to be quite honest. The only real sort of thing that had anything to do with the plot was you had a couple of brief scenes with the head of this sort of like the government body that's been sort of in charge of kind of like covering up the sort of the paranormal stuff, where basically he's sort of trying to off himself at the end of the episode, and how, now again this is going to be a spoiler, Hal ends up killing the other werewolf because he just simply won't leave. It's Larry, and you know, the ghost at the same time is sort of warning Alex after they kind of resolved everything that, you know, he is a killer, but he's just kind of like, you know, he's that side of him is asleep. And you know, obviously he ends up killing this Larry, and they're sort of saying, oh, the beast's, you know, the beast's awake now. But to be honest, he didn't like, you know, try to sort of like drain him of blood and things like that, and Larry was kind of pushing him to do that, and to be fair, Hal gave him plenty of warning. Obviously, I'm not saying that simply killing someone because they were kind of giving you a bit of grief is acceptable, but I don't think it's a good enough case to sort of turn around sort of Hal's personality to sort of try and make him this killer now. Now, I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but to me, that's kind of where they were going with it. So we'll see the next couple of episodes whether that's going to be the case or not. But if they did make him kill someone, I think they should have just made him, you know, just kill an innocent and slip and drain their blood, something like that. This one I thought was maybe not the best example of showing him that he has this dark side, because there was sort of extenuating circumstances, and ultimately he was trying to sort of, you know, mess up Tom and things like that. So not the best episode in my opinion. I'm sure there's some people out there who probably like this episode. It's probably had, you know, a fair amount of comedy compared to most. But I did quite like this sort of the female sort of ghost. She was, you know, she had some quite funny lines, but again, that kind of thing I think would have been better as a B plot, maybe in a separate episode with you know, the main plot sort of being the crux of the story. So I'm gonna have to give this one a 6 out of 10. What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. See you later.